Welcome back to my channel, and I just want to dive right into this video. I am not in the mood for disclaimers. I have such an exciting recommendation for learning Korean to share with you today. I just need to talk about it. Korean grammar in use. Little backstory to why I picked this up. As you all know, we are experiencing a fun illness issue globally, and unfortunately it impacted the Korean Language Institute a few weeks ago, probably 2 months ago now, and so we were all forced to end our semester early and go home, or just back to our apartments. And it was for an undetermined amount of time. It ended up being for about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, but in that time I wanted something to use so that I could just keep up with my Korean, but I didn't want to use the textbook system that we were already using at school. I wanted to try something else. Now, if you haven't already watched my video on the Seoul National University Korean textbook system, the Seoul 한국어, go ahead and check that out. I'll put a link in the description or a card or whatever people are doing these days, I don't know. But this is the system that we're currently using at the Korean Language Institute. As far as I know, the Korean grammar and use system is not something that's commonly used in Korean language institutes. I could be wrong. However, as far as I know, with the people I've talked to, this is not a textbook system that is used. Correct me if I'm wrong. However, I picked this up to accompany my learning with our school's textbook system. Something just to, hammer home some grammar we had already learned. In fact, this introduces a lot of grammar I didn't know existed in Korean. And, I started going through it slowly and reading through everything and, doing my little notes. And slowly, this became my favorite Korean language learning system to date. I have done living language. I have read through the Talk to Me in Korean, which are also very good. This is amazing. So the Korean grammar and use system is broken up into 3 textbooks. You have beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So I didn't come into this video not knowing what I'm talking about. I actually did talk to some of my friends who already own beginner and use beginner. I skimmed through beginner myself, and I skimmed through the advanced. However, because I'm using intermediate just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to be talking about and using the intermediate book. However, beginner, intermediate, and advanced all have the same layout. Now, before we dive into what's so good about this, I do want to say that unlike with the Seoul National University Korean or Living Language and a lot of other systems out there, you're not going to get a CD to do the listening exercises. So I really want to preface this with Korean grammar in use, the system, even the beginner, I do think is better for someone who already has a bit of knowledge with Korean. You can already use Hangul. You already have some very basic grammar and sentence structure understanding under your belt before you dive into this textbook system. Not to say that you need to have years of experience and, it's not like that. I think that you might just want to watch some YouTube videos and sort of familiarize yourself with the language. I feel like beginner still just kind of throws you in to the mix a little bit as if you already have some Korean knowledge. It's not just me who thought that same way. My 2 friends who already used the beginner book did sort of feel the same way. They actually were learning Korean from scratch as their English teachers out here, and so they wanted to take some classes, and so their online teacher uses this for their online Zoom sessions, and they felt a little lost at first. So that's just a small little tidbit of information for you. However, every chapter in Korean grammar in use is broken up into one category of grammar. For instance, making inferences or suggesting. So in the category of suggesting, using the Korean language, they give you all of the grammar that you can use for making suggestions. Oh my God, it is so good. Because in that chapter, every grammar point has their own unit. And in that unit, they review why you want to use this grammar point, the nuance of that grammar point, the feeling it creates, the cases and situations when you can and can't use it, and it's broken up into English and Korean. You really, really understand it and can absorb it. Mind you, of course, there are some English explanations in other textbook systems. However, sometimes, especially with this textbook system, the Seoul National University one, the English explanations at the back of the book do leave me really wondering, like, what that is. They make me a lot more confused. And of course, once you move on up to levels 5 and 6 in the Seoul National University Korean books, it's all in Korean. So it's sink or swim. This has been extremely helpful for me. Learning grammar, I've already studied at the Korean Language Institute again, but understanding the nuance, understanding different case and usage scenarios, and it also introduces me to a lot more grammar within the categories I've already learned. Not only that, but the units in each chapter are extremely small and bite-sized, yet very, very concise. You can finish one in maybe about 10 minutes. You have enough time to read it, read through the examples, and then do their little practice exercise right at the very end. Little side note, I love the paper that they use because it's super easy to write on in both highlighter, pen, pencil. Unlike a lot of the other books, I feel like I'm doing like an infomercial. I'm like, unlike all the other textbook systems, you know, when I write with pen, when I highlight, when I do pencil in here, this paper is really nice. It's really thick textbook paper, but it's always just so ugly and messy and smears, and it takes forever to dry. They really took into consideration that people are going to want to write in these books, and when you have those little fill in the blank areas, you want a nice place to write. You want paper that's really good quality. I have no smears, no messes, no nothing. You should take a look inside one of these books. It looks like I vomited inside this book with how smeared it is. I can't believe I'm saying this. It's like a pleasure to write in these books. Like, it's really nice. Really, I would recommend this system to someone who already has some knowledge in Korean and just wants to amp up their understanding of the Korean language. Add on to grammar you've already learned. Learn some new grammar while you're at it. Ultimately, there's a lot more that I want to say about this book, but I have two suggestions. If you're first learning Korean, you just want to dive right into it, you want to learn Korean, I'd recommend that you go for the Seoul National University textbooks and then just work your way on up. But if you're at a bit of a, I live abroad and I want to study Korean and I have some Korean knowledge and I just want to start building on that, you're going to want to pick up this book. This is going to be for you. Start with beginner, because you're definitely going to learn some things about the grammar that you've already learned, and then go to intermediate and advanced. And the thing is that these are so fun to go through. They're so fast that I will sit down just to study for, you know, maybe like 15, 20 minutes, and I'll realize I've gone through a whole chapter. I've done like a whole bunch of units because it's so well organized, so well executed. The examples in both English and Korean are so easy to digest. I have no questions. It's a pleasure to use this book. This is the winner. And price-wise, this was 23,000 won here in Korea, which equates to about $20 US. For how much knowledge you're getting in this book, I would have paid 50. I would have easily paid $50 for this textbook. I love it that much. I'm gonna have my review of the Seoul National University textbook system linked in the description if you wanna learn a little bit more about this one. And then, of course, Amazon affiliate links to where you can pick up these if you're interested. And if you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments, because I know that I did not brush on everything in this book, or even on this one. And if you have any other Korean language learning methods that you want to share, I'm always listening. So please, 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 please let me know. If you like videos like this, like, subscribe, I don't know, file a complaint, report my channel. Y'all know where the dislike button is. Anyway, I'm gonna go have some coffee, take a nap. It's one of those days. Anyway, everyone, thank you. Love ya. Mean it. Bye. Yeah, why do I have a YouTube channel? I need to quit.